Hello, 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 and welcome. We are here, episode 103 of the Rent to Rent Success podcast. Every week, it's a golden episode, and today's is no different. We have with us Jason Patterson. Jason Patterson is a property investor, and he specializes in buying short lease flats in London. But what I love about Jason, especially, is his backstory. Jason was a teacher in a school for over 15 years. And this is the epic bit that I heard recently, that he worked in Sainsburys stacking shelves for over 11 years. Now he has a multi-million pound property portfolio in London. He drives a Bentley Continental GT and he hangs out with the stars. So it will be interesting going back, seeing how he started. And I know that there's going to be lots of gold in this episode. Welcome to the show, Jason Patterson.
Hi, thanks for having me, Stephanie. It's always a pleasure.
Well, it's amazing to have you with us. I've really gotten to know you on Clubhouse, which is a phenomenal app where you can get so much property gold, and also you really get to know people on a more personal level. So I know that you do some regular rooms on Clubhouse, Jay. Do you want to tell us about those?
Yeah, basically in the mornings, there's a main room that's on average it's about 9:30 a.m. most mornings, Monday to Friday. The main individuals are Damien Murray and Ricky Marley, and every morning we just talk about property, have a different title. This morning's one was about location. When one previous was about rental properties. Is it best to do a buy-to-let, interest-only mortgage, or repayment mortgage, and so forth? So we do all sorts of titles in the morning, have discussions about the passion, which is property. People come on stage, share their views. But it's nice just to be around like-minded people because you're always learning, and obviously you share knowledge as well. So that's one of the main rooms in the morning at 9:30 a.m. on Clubhouse.
Absolutely. And I love that. It is so good to meet up with like-minded people because oftentimes you're not meeting those connections of people who are doing the same thing you're doing. So, Jay, I've mentioned a bit of your story, but let's go into it a little bit deeper. Tell us a little bit about you, how you grew up, and how you first, got started in property.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Islington, and then in my early 20s, I moved to Edmonton with my family, and then obviously during that period of time, started working at Sainsburys when I was 16, just normal in the grocery department, stacking the shelves. It went fine actually. So I was just there, just stacking the shelves and so forth. And then obviously I stayed there after university, and I got into a teaching job. But when I was in my teaching job, I was there and I thought I was sitting there at the desk, and I just thought I've got to stay here or in employment for the next 40 to 45 years before I can get my pension. So I said, that's kind of a long time. So there must be another way of trying to make money legally, whether it be through buying stocks and shares, through property, or starting a business. So probably property was the main one for me. And then from then, I just started my journey after that.
So, what made you decide on property? Because you said a few things there. You could have gone into stocks and shares. You could have gone into business. And what made you think, what property is the one for me?
Probably less work, and you get regular returns every month. So I was speaking to we're just there in the office, just talking one day, and one of my colleagues said, "Yeah, I've just split up with my partner. I have to move back home with mum, and then I'm gonna rent my place out." So I said, "Oh, you're gonna rent it out?" Yeah. So this place was in Tottenham. He said, "Yeah, I'm moving back home with mum and dad so they can do my washing for me, do my ironing, do all sorts. And then I rent my place out." So he said, "Oh, okay. So you're gonna rent it out?" I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna give it to the council under a guarantee rent scheme. I'll be getting £600 a month to rent it out, and that's my bare money." So I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So I mean, back then I didn't know anything about property. Didn't know about mortgages. I thought you had to pay off the property all at once. They can get mortgages by putting down a deposit. So that's what planted the seed in my mind. And then he taught me through the different types of mortgages, fixed rates, variable rates, and so forth, and interest only. So he went, just sat down, talked me through it. And from then, that's when I got the first idea in my head, and I thought, this is a good idea. one property is £600. Imagine you get maybe 3 or 4 of them. I mean, that can match your full-time wage. So I thought, oh, that's a good path to go down. So I started to plot in my early 20s. Then instead of leaving Sainsburys, I thought, you know what? I know the banks, what they do, they like to multiply your income by 4.5, 5 times or 5.5. I thought, because my wages wasn't that great, if I'm going to stay here and in Sainsburys and do a bit of private tuition, and at least they can add all my wages together, multiply it by 4, 4.5, and then that way they can move forward to try and get a property. So that's how I started my journey, really. But it's more about trying to match my full-time wages with rental income. So that's how it started.
I'm so glad I asked you that question, Jason, because that's the bombshell, isn't it? When you first get that bit of information and you literally head explodes. Like, you thought you had to buy a house and have all the money to buy a house and didn't know about mortgages. And then suddenly this guy's telling you, no, somebody gives you the money, or not gives you, somebody lends you the money to buy the house. And meantime, you can make money off it. But it didn't end there, because you became very intentional. Once you found out about it, you delved into it. You found out about the banks working out how much mortgage they want to lend you, how much money they want to lend you for a house based on what your income is. And this is what blew my mind. You were working full-time as a teacher. You then stayed on at Sainsbury's for 11 years stacking shelves, and you were tutoring part-time privately, all to build up the income so that you could intentionally get these mortgages and do buy-to-let. And what we haven't mentioned is you stayed at home with your parents for quite a long time, much longer than people typically do.
Yeah, because that's your safety net. Because if anything was to go wrong, at least you go, oh, I've got a roof over my head, still getting cooked food every night, still can wash my clothes. So that was my safety net. So I thought, while I was at home, may as well make use of that opportunity and just try to move forward. So I bought my first one when I was at home. I think I might have been about 24, 25-ish. I started looking into it. Before that, actually, I went into the bank. I went into a bank called Cheltenham and Gloucester. It's no longer around. And then I sat down. I just went in there. I said, I'd like to buy a property. And then said, so how much do you earn? And then the guy just laughed. He's like, no, you can't just come in here and then just apply for a mortgage like that. You have to go through these channels, this and that. He's earning this much as well. He just consolidated what my work colleague said to me before. So I went away, made some mental notes, done a plan, and when I came back, obviously, I bought my first one after that. But initially, I didn't have a clue. I had to clue myself up, do a bit of research. Just done research. I mean, from then, just move forward. But I was quite lucky, quite lucky.
Do you mind if I ask you, Jason, because there might be people listening here who consider themselves to be on, you said you thought you were on a lower salary. Do you mind if I ask you what you were earning back in those days?
Yeah, it's about my first full-time one was about 17,500. Yeah, 17,500 when I was doing the Sainsburys. But I started Sainsburys on £3.28 an hour. Wow. And then I think, I stopped because obviously when you get older, you get like standard of living pay rises of maybe 10 pence an hour or 15 pence an hour and so forth. But I was doing overtime as well. So because I was a good worker, so some of the time the checkouts saw me working, said, "Oh, Jason, you do some overtime on checkouts." So I got till trains and I did a bit of trolleys, like what Gavin Sherman used to do as well. He used to work in the supermarkets. Me and him had a good chat on Clubhouse about doing the trolleys in the supermarket. Done overtime and night shifts. When you used to do night shifts, on a Saturday night, it was on a Saturday it was time and a half, and then on a Sunday it was double pay. So if you started at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night and then worked through until 7 a.m. Sunday morning, then it's more or less like double money. So whenever there was a slot available and when someone phoned in sick, the night shift manager would message me and say, "Oh, Jason, you're available to work." So if I wasn't going out that Saturday evening, then straight to work. And then on that Saturday daytime, I used to do my normal shift as well. So I get there at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. Sometimes I start on the bread aisle, 6 to 8 on the bread aisle. And after that, move over to grocery. putting out the waters and so forth. And then I finish at 2 o'clock. But if the next person after me phoned in sick, then a lot of the time they phoned in sick because they must have gone out on the lash on the Friday night, and then they can't get up for the Saturday. So it's, oh, Jason, so-and-so's phoned in sick. Can you cover their shift? I'm like, you know what, let me just do it. So sometimes I work from 6 till 8, and then maybe go to my grand's house, sleep for a couple hours, and then do 10 p.m. till 7 a.m. and then just do it that way. So I was grafting just to get the money together initially.
I love it so much because you know what you mentioned, or I heard you say in another room that some friends thought you were a bit crazy because after they graduate from the university, they gave up their jobs in Sainsburys, etc. You carried on. You were still living at home. You were working as a teacher, but the people who were laughing then, now, the life that you've created for yourself with the portfolio that you've been able to build up. And, you know, we were just talking earlier and you were saying that actually you have to be quite intentional on finding things to do now that you're no longer working as a teacher.
Because the freedom of time is valuable. I don't, sorry.
Yeah, let's talk about getting that first deal, because you got a bit of information off this fellow teacher who had been this way before and pointed things out to you. So tell us how you went from having that idea, getting turned down for that first, well, the estate agent laughing in your face basically, and to where you actually could buy. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so basically he bought his first flat in Tottenham, I think, for like 52,000. So I knew 1-bedroom flats were quite, not cheapish, but they were relevant, or kind of in line with what it is at that time. So I knew I needed around maybe £10,000, £12,000 of a deposit, the legals, any stamp duty as well. So I set myself a target to try and save that while I was at home. So like I said, did a lot of overtime. Didn't pay my mum that much rent. It's only like, I think it was maybe £50 a week or something like that, nothing too heavy. So I had quite a bit of money there to actually save. So I put that aside. And then at the time, there wasn't any Rightmove or Zoopla or nomarket.com. So looked in the Enfield Gazette, the Enfield Independent, papers came out every Wednesday, put them through your door. So I looked through them and I saw this one property, a 1-bedroom flat for 70,000 in Enfield. So I've done the maths because maths teacher, obviously, so I had all the skills there. And I worked out how much I needed to roughly earn in order to purchase it. I didn't fully know the calculation what the bank did, but I knew roughly what they were and how much I needed. So I looked at it, booked an appointment over the phone, went to go and view it, and then just took it from there. I knew I had to be on the voters roll. Needed to have my 3 months wage slips, bank statements, need to have good credit as well, check my Experian credit report, and also Equifax, make sure there's no late T-Mobile bills or EE bills nowadays, and anything like that. Make sure everything was clean, everything was ready. And then went into Halifax Bank, because the normal bank, and you go to a normal broker, because I didn't know about brokers then. Went into the bank, Halifax said, yeah, that will give me a mortgage for this amount. Showed them all my my basically presets of wage slips and everything, and it just went through. So it was nice. It was nice. And then after that, because my friend had his scheme was a guaranteed rent scheme with a council, so he hooked me up with his contact at the council, who's still there today, and he gave me a nice contract for 2 years on the guaranteed rent scheme. So with that 1-bedroom flat was bringing an extra £600 a month into my pocket while I was still living at home. So I said to myself, this is good, because this is almost like a third of my wages just from one property. So I thought, wait a minute, I'm going to buy more. So I started plotting again, and then it just kind of snowballed. I'll tell you more in a minute if you want to ask the question.
Yeah, I love the simplicity of it. But I don't want to underplay, because so many people know stuff, but they don't take the action. So you were just always taking action, or you were finding things out and working things out and preparing yourself so that you could take action. And when you bought that first property for £52,000, and then you were making 600 on the rent, and you've obviously got your mortgage to pay, so you get a certain cash flow after that. But the property is also going up in value. So, Jay, do you know how much it's worth today, the property?
That one worth like 240,000.
So that is
So, yeah, the first one was 70 that I bought. He bought one for 52, but my one was worth 70 when I purchased it.
Yeah.
But that one's probably tripled and a bit more now.
Yes. Yeah, it's tripled and a bit more. And what year did you buy that, Jason?
2001, September 2001.
Well, I know that people will be saying, oh, yeah, but that was okay because that was 20 years ago. But there's still opportunities today. You're still buying today, and people are still buying their very first investment property, even in London, because there are places in London on the outskirts where you can find affordable property. And we'll come on to that later. But I just want to share, let that insight sink in, that when you were living at home, you were working at the job, you were working at Sainsburys, you were working as a private tutor, you were basically working 24/7, and but you were able to buy your first one, and that inspired you to buy more. But when you did that, not only did you get that £600 a month that you've had now for the last 20 years, on a guaranteed status, you've also got the equity that you can then, refinance. Have you ever refinanced that property?
Yeah, because I was at home again, probably about 16 to 18 months later. I was just there watching the BBC News, and they said, "Oh, house prices have risen by, I think it was 18%." So I was like, "Oh, risen by 18%? That's a good amount." So again, I was talking to a few people, and then it's like, "Oh yeah, your flat that you bought has gone up by quite a bit." I said, "Yeah, and then you can take out money out of it and then go and buy more." I was like, "Really? I can take money out of it?" I said, "Yeah, you can take money out and then, buy more." Because I was like, okay, because I was there busy saving, working hard to get my next deposit, and then I realized they can extract cash. So I went along to an estate agent on again looking through the papers, and went to an estate agent on the Hertford Road, Adam Kennedy. And then there's a guy in there called AJ. He was a mortgage broker. Well, I didn't have one at the time, but he said to me, "Yeah, this is how it works." Blah 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 blah. That took me through the process. And okay, so went away. When I came back, and when I said, "Right, I've done my calculations. I've got enough to buy 3 properties." So he looks at me. He's like, "3 properties?" And he said, I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, show me the spreadsheet." So I showed him the spreadsheet on his computer. Yeah, analyzed everything. Looked at it. He said to me, "How old are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm 27." I said, "Most 27-year-olds out there going around, going out, going parties, popping bottles, having fun." I said, "Yeah, I'm still doing all of that. I just come up with my FIFA last year, not a FIFA, pineapple last year. Went out last Saturday, just twice as nice. Still enjoying myself, but I still want to buy property as well." So then he said, So he put me under his wing for about 2-3 months, showed me about the BRR strategy, because he just bought a new Mercedes, because he bought his flat to refurb, remortgage, and use the money to buy a Mercedes. Told me that he's retired for the 4th time now. He's just telling me everything about property, everything. It's opened my mind even more. So I was like, oh. And then basically he's kind of like one of my early mentors, but it's only brief, maybe 2-3 months. And then he just said to me that I'm giving you all this knowledge now, but make sure you pass it on to others. So that's when that philosophy came, reach one, teach one. So everyone that I meet going forward now, I just tell them about property, try and help them where I can. And then once they become, I don't know, self-sustainable in their own sense, then I hope that they pass my knowledge to someone else. So always use the philosophy, reach one and teach one. And then hopefully they can pass on to others after that. But, yeah, so basically,
Jason, people will want to reach out to you. Now, are you, it's that crazy one, isn't it? J_P. Is that you on Instagram?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's me.
J_P_P. I just wanted to make it as difficult as possible for y'all.
You know what? Because I've only been on Instagram about 1.5 years. So everyone's been on it for years. My friends are telling me, come on Instagram. I was like, it's not really for me. So, but then I just thought, let me just go on there. So I've only been on there 1.5 years. So at the end of the lockdown 1, I think it was, that's when I first went onto Instagram. But before that, I wasn't on there because I wasn't really into social media. Obviously, I'm on there now, and I'm obviously I joined Clubhouse in June this year, so I've only been on there maybe 4 or 5 months. But yeah, I haven't been on Clubhouse long or Instagram long. Been on Facebook for a bit longer, but that's about it. Because that's why, yeah. Or I would have had to put up a nice name rather than JPP21. But that, yeah, sometimes
Yeah,
a weird
so
one.
for people who want to find Jason on Instagram, just search for Jason Patterson with Patterson has 2 T's. And if you're watching, if you go over to the website, it's rent2rentsuccess.com/103. You'll see Jason's Insta link as well. So you'll be able to go over and check Jason out. So we've taught Jason about, getting started, the benefits of that first property. We've talked about how you were lucky that you got that information, but luck met opportunity because you were hungry, as Les Brown would say, you were hungry and
Yeah,
you were going for it.
yeah.
Um, and it was just little bits of information from this person, from that person, and then you got an intensive from a mentor who was impressed by you,
Mm.
by what your level of planning, your level of achievement, and he wanted to invest in more information within you. So tell us what's happened since that very first one.
Yeah, so obviously I bought 3 at that time, and then that's the first. Was actually second time that I bought 3 in a row, or in one go. Basically, so I remortgaged some of my first one plus my savings, and then I managed to buy those 3 together. And then after that, also read Rich Dad Poor Dad. My friend at work said to me, "Yeah, read this book. It's interesting." And then when I first started to read it, this was about, like I said, 17, 18 years ago, my heart started to beat. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. But obviously, you've got the quadrants, 4 quadrants, and then on the left-hand side, you have self-employed, or you said employed and self-employed. And then on the right-hand side, you have business owner and you have investor. At the moment, I was more or less in all of the quadrants in a way, because I was employed, teaching, I was doing self-employed, doing some private tuition. And then also, because I was getting oversubscribed, I started a small private tuition business. I was in the business section, and I was in the I section, which is the property section, property investing. So, but what the book says is you should move, if you can, from the left-hand side of a quadrant over to the right-hand side of a quadrant. So I started to make my progression from the left-hand side over to the right-hand side, because that's where most rich and wealthy people are. And on the right-hand side, your money works for you rather than you working for your money. And that's where I wanted to be. So yeah, since I'm meeting AJ, and that's how it all started. I mean, I bought those 3 off him. I mean, he retired for the 4th time, so I didn't see him again after that. I mean, but he lived in a nice area, retired for the 4th time, drove a Mercedes, like just enjoying life, the freedom of time. I mean, after, like I said, he retired, so I had to find a new mortgage broker while I put in my portfolio. I mean, just by chance, I met him. I was walking up towards my local gym. I mix it. I got subscribed to 2 gyms. So I walk up to my local gym. I mean, this guy just walked past me, and he looked familiar. So I looked at him, and then he looks at me. He's like, AJ. He's like, Jason, AJ. He's like, oh, long time. Like, how are you? He's like, oh, I haven't seen you for years. How long has it been? I said, oh, it's good, at least 15, 16, 17 years. Yeah, I haven't seen you. Oh, what are you up to? Yeah. He says to me, yeah, I just live around the corner. Oh, okay, I just live down the road. Yeah, just going to the gym. Oh, yeah, I go to the gym sometimes as well. He said to me, are you still buying? Yeah, I'm still buying. And then we arranged a lunch date. So I met him for lunch with a good chat, good catch up, see what he's been doing, and this and that. And then, so he asked me how many properties I have now. So I told him, and he looked at me, and said, Jason, when I met you, you only had 1 property. I said, yeah, I know. I've just been buying all these years. He said, oh, you know what? Now you have more properties than me. So I was like, really? So I was like, yeah, you got more properties than me. So in my mind, I was like, whoa. So this guy who was one of my, put him on a pedestal, like way up there, I was thinking, yeah, one day I'd love to be like you, just the freedom of time, all this rental income coming in, all these properties. And now I live in the same area as him, got more properties than him as well, got the freedom of time. So it's way things have turned out, it's just weird. It's like your rivals, when your idols become your rivals. It's like a weird kind of scenario. And then sometimes when you're younger, or when you're just at the beginning of your journey, and you look at other people and you're thinking, whoa, like, I'd love to be in that situation where you ever had a nice house or a nice car, or you got all these income coming in, you've got freedom of time. I'd love to have that, but that's out of my reach. Like, it's impossible. I don't think I can do it. But that's not true. You know, I'm living proof, for example, that's not true. Same with Damon. Damon was talking about the other day. He's got more properties than the person that helped him when he was younger. So it's weird. And even Steve Jobs said it. It's like when you start putting things into life and start poking life, then things will come back at you. I mean, when you're thinking, oh, I can change things, I can grow, I can develop. It's weird. So don't try and limit yourself and think, oh, that person's too far gone. There's no way I'm trying to catch them or be like them or come close to them. Just do your own journey. And then over time, hopefully you just progress, achieve what you want to achieve. And then when you look back, then, you know, I've come a long way. But the main thing is just to start, like you said, take action. I mean, just try and move forward, because no one knows when the journey's gonna end. You know what I mean? Just take action. I mean, just start your journey, because anything is possible.
Absolutely, because nobody would say, "Oh, yeah, Jason Patterson's definitely going to have a multi-million property portfolio, be swanking around in his Bentley and all of that." Because at the end of the day, you started off, you were on 17K, but it was a year working as a teacher, and the only difference between you and somebody else who doesn't do that is you decided to create it for yourself. You were very intentional about what you did. You decided when you heard that person, your fellow teacher, had a property renting out, to rent out a property, and you worked out everything you needed to do to get there. So let's just come up to the present day. Give us a picture of where you are at now since that very first property.
Yeah, so things have evolved. I started off with just normal buy-to-lets, vanilla buy-to-lets, and then I become more knowledgeable and more experienced, and I moved over to a bit of BRR, so buy, refurb, refinance. So I was buying flats that needed a bit of work doing to it, changing the windows, changing the carpets, maybe doing a bathroom and a kitchen. And then I've evolved again into reconfiguring. So I buy, again, flats, leasehold properties, sometimes above shops, sometimes conversions, sometimes purpose-built ones where I can change it from a 1-bed to a 2-bed or a 2-bed to a 3-bed, as well as refurbing it. I mean, I've evolved it again into buying properties with short leases. I mean, there's a lot of value to add it with properties with short leases. So, like I used to say before, if you find one where it has a short lease, you can reconfigure it from 1-bed to a 2-bed or a 2-bed to a 3-bed, and a refurb. I call them ones a triple threat. So if you can find a triple threat, you know, you can make a lot of money off them ones. But if not, you can just go for ones with short leases, and then you can add the value that way. So basically, when you buy a property with a short lease, it's like doing a BRR, but it's the paper version of the BRR. Just sign a few documents, negotiate with the freeholder, and then it creates an uplift in value of what I look for a minimum of about 20-25% uplift. We just had a short lease only. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. It's quite creative, because as the world and the economy and the property market changes, you have to be more creative in your strategies, because some strategies may not work as well as others nowadays, because interest rates are involved, different governments, prices are rising, all sorts of things happening. There's many moving parts. So as there's so many moving parts, you have to evolve as an investor along the way. So what worked for you 20 years ago may not work for you now. Obviously, there's other new strategies as well, like rent-to-rent, lease option agreements, and deal source, and etc. But you can also evolve within your own section. So I like leasehold, so I've just evolved within the leasehold section. So that's what I've done.
Yeah, and give us an example of a deal you did recently. I know that you mainly buy in North London. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So because people think, oh, you can't invest in London. So I'd love to know how you do it, Jason. Give us some of the numbers.
All right. Yes, I've got one here. It's 1-bedroom flat. This one was purchased during lockdown 1. Yeah, I think I completed on 3 during lockdown 1. That's March 2020. April 2020 and June 2020, and 2 of them were short lease flats. This is an example of one of them. This is a 1-bedroom flat purchased for 155. The reason why it's so cheap is because it has a 64-year lease on it. So a 64-year lease. So any lease that is below 80 years, which is the marriage value, the value of a flat starts to diminish. So it becomes cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Because at some point, you're going to have to extend that lease. Otherwise, after 64 years, in theory, you have to give the property back to the freeholder. But there's value to be added buying leases with or properties with short-term leases. So basically, I bought it for 155, 64-year lease. Then the lease extension cost for this particular one was £15,466, and that was for an additional 90 years on top of what it is now. With actually, this one was not with peppercorn ground rent. This one with a rent of around 250. So I negotiated with the freeholder myself actually, but this one with ground rent of 250. So it wasn't too bad for the 15k to extend it for 90 years. So it wasn't too bad because the figures worked out, as you're going to see in a minute. All right. So with lease extensions, you have to pay for the lease extension cost, the surveyor, which probably costs about £1,000, and you have to pay for their legal side of it as well. And in this case, it was roughly about 1,320, which is their legal fees. Then my solicitor's fees cost about 780 as well. So all in, basically, it cost roughly about, with everything all in, about 173,000. The lease extension, the surveyor, my solicitor, etc., roughly about 173,000 all in. Got it revalued. It's gone up now, but at the time, got it revalued for about 225,000. So between the 173k and the 225k is roughly about a 51k uplift. So that means in percentage terms, it's roughly about 29%, 30% uplift. So I bought it, extending the lease, and then I have an uplift in value of 51k-ish or 30%. So that income there, I can just obviously take out and then go again. So in that particular deal, if you include the deposit, my stamp duty, the legal fees, everything else, it came to about 61k-ish or something like that. So when you refinance, you can pull out 51k-ish or so, or 50k by the time you pay for the fees and everything. So I'm leaving probably about 10 grand in the deal. I mean, I've also got a property to rent out afterwards as well under the guaranteed rent scheme that I do. So it's a no-brainer. So I just keep on doing that. So that's a typical example.
And the guaranteed rent scheme is great with the council because you're not liable for maintenance either, are you?
Yeah, exactly. If anything heavy goes wrong, like for example, if it's got a boiler that's broken, then yeah, you need to fix it. But if anything goes wrong, for example, if there's a toilet, the lever's not working, they'll send the council people around there, or if the door's not closing properly, or the lock's latch not working properly, the council will send their maintenance team around there to go and fix it. Any small jobs, then they look after it. Any heavy jobs, then I look after. But yes, it's good. It's good. Can't complain. It's like a wage. That's the way that I wanted it. Obviously, I can get more on the open market, maybe £100 to £125 more on the open market. But in terms of hassle-free, convenience, freedom of time, I prefer to have it that way rather than me having a maximum rent for it. I mean, having a bit more work to do with the property because I like the value of time, basically. So
yeah. And actually, that's the reason why landlords, some landlords like rent to rent because they just want to know what money's coming in. They don't want to be dealing with any foolishness, and they want to live their life. And for you, yes, the cash flow is important, but also that the capital appreciation you're making is phenomenal because even on the first one you bought 70k, it's now worth 240k, and then you've got all of these other assets which are all growing in value too, and over time. So you start growing like this, saving in between, then suddenly you can start buying properties more quickly because
Exactly.
you can take the equity out of them, and it's just your growth just goes upwards
Exactly.
at
The snowball effect.
yeah, at a
Yeah.
much higher speed.
Hmm.
So you've given us some great lessons today and insights to take away. What do you think are your secrets to success?
Probably hard work to start with and organization. Because some people don't want to put in the work. They might see you driving around in a nice car or having a nice house, and they think, yeah, I want that. But they think that doesn't just happen overnight. They say it takes what 10 years to be an overnight success because they don't see the work that goes in behind the scenes, the long hours, missing some social events because you're making money, like working and so forth. They just see the end product or the material side of it. But you need to obviously do a bit of sacrifice, do some temporary measures, whether it means getting a second job or looking for some JV investors. You got to put in the groundwork initially and then think of it as a means to an end. You're not going to be doing that forever. It's just to get you started, get the ball rolling and so forth. And then once you get your first one or two or three, then you can leave that part-time job or you can pay this investor back his money or whatever you did initially to get you started. You can just kick back a little bit and start to ease off in that sense. But yeah, I'll say hard work, organization, and having a nice, strong power team that you build up over the years is vital. Because
Yeah.
without them tradespeople and your power team behind you, the solicitors, mortgage brokers, etc., then you're in trouble. you're in big trouble. So
Yeah.
that's what I recommend as well. Yeah, when I first started, I didn't have many people around me that were into it. Everyone was all playing FIFA and Tekken and Street Fighter, and then we going to property investor events at Excel twice a year. I just gone by myself because no one really wanted to go. So it's come back now. Obviously, I remember Mark Lloyd and a few of the others, and some of the Clubhouse people went there as well recently. But asked me if I was going. I said no. I went for about 12, 13 years straight because it was on twice a year, and I used to go every single time. Just go around, be around like-minded people, network, chat, basically like a real life Clubhouse kind of thing in a way, but just twice a year. Because no one, like I said, wasn't really into it. I mean, now you've got all these other forums where you can just discuss and be around like-minded people, like Clubhouse, doing podcasts on like channels like this. Got Facebook groups, we've got networking events, we've got all sorts now. But it's good to be around like-minded people, and that will help you to push forward and move forward. So if you're not around the right people, then it's going to be hard for you to progress and to grow. You need positive, like-minded people around you, and then you can move forward and be successful.
Absolutely, you do. And if we look back to your story, you were at that school, and it was just because you happened to be working at the same school as somebody who was not even a property investor. They'd got divorced and they were renting out their own home, but that person was able to give you some big light bulb moments. You can get a mortgage, you can rent out a property. So that's the importance of being around like-minded people. Otherwise, your journey may never have started.
Exactly.
So Jason, you help other investors to get started in property who are not as far along the journey as you. And what's the biggest mistake that you see people making when they want to get started in property?
Well, I'm not sure about a mistake, but there's a lot of confusion. There's so many different strategies out there, and everyone's just, oh, I want to do this strategy. No, I want to do this strategy. I want to do this strategy. So, as you know already, there's the modern strategies, which I didn't know about from when I was earlier. There's rent to rent, there's deal sourcing, there's lease option agreements. Those are the newish ones. We've got the old time ones, like the vanilla buy to let, buy refurb, refinance, flipping properties. We've got the old side of it as well. So, but there's so many strategies out there. What they sometimes we do, oh yeah, you got SA as well, service accommodation, rent to SAs. A lot of them, they try and just go with the money. But I tell them, look, you've got all these strategies out there. Choose one that you're comfortable with. I know SA might bring you the most money, service accommodation might bring you the most money, but sometimes some people might not feel comfortable with it. Like, for example, my strategy, which is a short leases or buying leasehold properties, some people aren't comfortable with paying the service charge and ground rent every year. They just prefer freehold only. So if it doesn't sit right with you, don't go with that strategy. Go with a strategy that you like and you feel comfortable with and one that you enjoy. because sometimes you get into this, I don't know, like buy-to-lets or renting the property out yourself, or I don't know, SA, and thinking, oh, can't take this anymore. I don't know why I'm doing this. I shouldn't have listened to that guy. Just choose a strategy that you enjoy. Yeah, the money is obviously important, but not as important. It's about choosing a strategy that you're comfortable with, that you can progress with. And if you are going to get a mentor, choose one that is doing it in that particular area, or is doing it, or has done it. For example, I'm helping people to buy properties in Doncaster and in North London. So those are my two specialist areas. So if you're buying in Doncaster, got all the team up there as well. So if you need any plumbers, electricians, builders, estate agents, etc., it's all covered. Viewings, all that kind of stuff. Got in the presentation that I've done, I've got a list of what exactly is needed. For example, if you're buying a house up there for like 75k or 78k, one of the two, 3-bedroom house. I've broken it down, how much you need for stamp duty, the legals, deposit-wise, etc. So I help people in that sense. But yeah, just choose a strategy that you enjoy, just so you can move forward a bit. I mean, after the first 2 or 3 or so, then you can maybe evolve, get more confident, more knowledgeable, but you can evolve into other strategies. But choose one that you resonates with you and you only. Don't listen to other people. Yeah. That's what I would say initially.
Absolutely, Jason. I recently did a podcast episode on the 3 biggest mistakes people made when getting started in rent to rent. And that was number 1, they don't focus on one thing. And they don't get it done as a result. So focus. Now, where can people get this presentation about investing in Doncaster?
Oh, I've got a YouTube link, which I'm not sure if I added it to your list or not. But I can send it to you afterwards if need be.
Yeah.
Or if you type in my name, Jason Patterson, on YouTube, put Jason Patterson short leases, and it should come up. Because there's a few comedians on there, it's all cool with my name. But I'm not them, it's not me.
You're quite funny as well, Jay. So Jason Patterson, yes, you can also get him on Instagram, and we will get that link, Jason, and we can add that to the show notes, renttoRentSuccess.com/103 for that link to that video. And how is the best way for people to contact you if they're interested in being mentored by you, either buying in Doncaster or buying in North London?
Oh yeah, they can just DM me on Instagram, which is on the screen, I think, or the bottom of the link. Yeah.
Oh, I'll put it back on the screen at J_P_P_21, because it did make it easy for us. It's on the screen at renttoRentSuccess.com/103. So I want to thank you, Jason, for coming in and delivering the gold dust for us today. Just as we're closing today, is there anything else that you wanted to add that maybe I haven't asked you about, or an inspiring word to leave people with?
Probably just start your journey. So just talk to people, people that have been in the game for a long time, maybe just to get a feel of different strategies and so forth. And then, even though you might pay for these property courses, or you might look up on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook and do it for free, just get started. Some people as well are trying to look for the ultimate deal, which brings in the most money straight away. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. Just get started, as long as you're bringing in a normal amount from that first property, wherever it may be. And then after that, just obviously just move forward. So don't keep on looking at that one gem, that one property that will hit you the big time, like crypto. No, just buy one property, normal average return. And then from then you can start to look for the gems afterwards. So basically just take action. That's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice, Jason. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, as ever, for watching and for listening to the show. It's been great to have you with us again this week. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. One of my favorites, just because it was so unexpected for Jay to do so well. But I love that 15, I don't know, so many years at teaching, 11 years at Sainsburys, so many years living at home, but now an incredible lifestyle and with the time freedom to do whatever he wants to do. And that's all open and available for any of us in property. So that's it for this episode. Remember, guys, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer. See you next week. Bye for now.
Thanks for bye.